Round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series takes place on the Algarve circuit in southern Portugal. But before the action gets underway, let's look at last time out in Moscow. A rocket start from Vincent Abril saw him take the lead in the HTP Bentley, while it all got a bit close behind. Enzo Ede on the grass, tapping into a spin Albert von Taxis. That was the view on board from Vincent Abril as he cruised through the middle. This was the rear view from the Ferrari as it all got a little bit busy into turn 1. And Albert von Taxis, the man who started on pole, was sent to the back. There were also problems for the Zero BMW Team Brazil car. The battles were intense at the front of the order as the race leader, Vincent Abril, came into the pits to hand over to his teammate, Maximilian Buch. Good work from the HTP Bentley squad as the 333 Ferrari squad also came in to change their tyres and drivers, and out went the 77 BMW. Robin Freins was pushing hard, trying to make up positions, but he'd soon come into the pits to hand over to Laurens van Thor. They got involved in a first corner incident in the qualifying race, so had to start at the back for the main race and were working their way up the order. Caca Bueno recounted his story of the start of the race. The battle was on between the 333 Ferrari and the 77 BMW, all over second position. Norbert Siedler was pushing hard, trying to get past Valdeno Brito in front. Meanwhile, trying to catch them, Laurens van Thor spun. That dropped him down a position behind the 3 WRT Audi of Stefan Ortelli. But Vincent Abril watched on as his teammate Maximilian Buch came through the final corner. The first win for HTP with their new Bentleys. A superb performance from Buch and Abril, bringing them right into championship contention. And the first win in Blancpain Sprint for Vincent Abril. On the Thursday night, there was a parade down to the Portimao town centre. The trucks made their way down, unloaded the cars, and the fans were able to meet and greet the drivers. There was even a little bit of burnout action from the new JRM Nissan. At WRT, Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede are looking strong this weekend. Mies managed to put it on pole position in qualifying, and it will be hopefully a strong race weekend for them. Meanwhile, in the number 1 WRT car, they are leading the championship. Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins looking forward to the weekend.
Well, we're leading the championship by 15 points now, so a lot of stuff can happen. This circuit doesn't really suit our car, we reckon, so it's going to be a difficult weekend for us. If we can finish on the podium, should be great, and not to lose a lot of points against the Bentley, because I think the Bentley should be strong here. And if we go to Misano and Zandvoort, it's kind of more our tracks for the car.
At Phoenix Audi, once again, it'll be Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. In Moscow, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof had to leave before the racing got underway, so Marcus had to do the whole races by himself. This weekend, they're convinced that they will be there or thereabouts come race day.
All season long, we've been fighting for the podium. I think that we showed that we have the pace. We just had a little tweaks here and there, which made it impossible for us to get to the podium. But if you look at the field, it's so close, so everything has to be spot on that we are on the podium. But for sure, otherwise we wouldn't be here if we wouldn't be thinking of winning, being able to win, or being on the podium.
At ISR Audi, the Fjordbach brothers aren't here this weekend, so it will be the sole entry for Philippe Salaquada and Marco Bononomi. The Audi team are getting stronger and stronger in their first season of Blancpain Sprint, and it's certainly a circuit that Marco Bononomi enjoys, having raced here in the past, and they'll be looking for a strong weekend.
I think the track, I really like it. I enjoyed in the Formula 3000 back in a few years ago. I think it fits quite well to our R8. And yeah, we did some simulation setup and things. I think we are pretty ready and for the big fight.
Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez have been unlucky so far this season in their Zero BMW, often getting caught up in incidents, none more so than at the start of the race in Moscow, where they were taken out in the start of both of the races. But in the sister number 77 car, things are looking good. They are third in the championship at the moment, Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito at the wheel. They are well within reach of taking the championship lead if they have a good weekend here.
We should be on the pace, in the middle of the grid, but let's see how we can improve the car. We tested here in the beginning of the year. We improved a lot the car. Hopefully we can use this setup and these adjustments also here and have a good lap times during the weekend.
Over at HTP Bentley, the team were delighted to take their first victory in Moscow with the new Bentley Continental. In the 83 car with the new livery is Jules Simkowiak and Max van Splunteren, and they'll be hoping they can make their way further up the grid after van Splinteren's promising debut. But in the 84 Bentley, it's Vincent Abril and Maximilian Buch. They are just 15 points off the lead of the championship, and Abril knows that they could be in with a shot this weekend.
I think we will be probably a bit better than Moscow because there's less traction corners, which is a bit the difficulty with the car, to turn the car also in those very tight corners that we had in Moscow, so it won't be worse for sure, I hope.
A superb weekend for Reiter Engineering Lamborghini in Moscow saw them win the qualifying race, but it's a very different circuit here, so Nicky Katzberg isn't quite as confident.
I think it will be a bit different than Moscow. Moscow was mainly first gear for us, so very low speed. This is a bit more in between. So yeah, let's see where we are, but I think we can be confident. I've been here a lot, spent a lot of time here in winters, and it's an amazing circuit. It's quite bumpy, but it has something special to it.
Craig Dolby and Sean Walkinshaw have made a switch from the MRS GT Nissan squad to the JRM Nissan squad. They'll be hoping it will result in some good performances this weekend. They've had a decent season so far, with a bit of bad luck at times, and hopefully for them, Portimao will turn their season around.
Yeah, I think it's been going pretty well. We've had some really good results. We've just had quite a bit of bad luck. We've lost that occasion on the pit stops and stuff like that, losing quite a few championship points and positions. But on the whole, I'm really happy. Both myself and Craig have been really happy with our times and performances so far. Hopefully we could just get maybe a podium or two by the end of the year.
It's been an up and down season for the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari squad. They had 2 podiums last time out in Moscow though, so they are genuine frontrunners coming to the Algarve. It's the first season for Rinaldi in the Blancpain Sprint Series, and for Norbert Siedler and Marco Seefried, there's been an awful lot to learn as they enter one of the most competitive GT championships.
Yeah, we have learned a lot actually, the drivers, mechanics, everybody learned a lot. Monza was already good at the beginning of the season, and everybody told us that the sprint will be very difficult for us, but actually we showed that we are really competitive there as well. Yeah, and let's hope to be again on the podium, and we want to fight for a victory, for sure.
The qualifying race for round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series is about to get underway here in the Algarve. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson as we get ready for the 1-hour race that will set the grid for tomorrow's main race. It's overcast here, still pretty warm, 22.9 degrees Celsius, track temperature 26 degrees. As you can see, a bit of thunder and rain predicted for later on. Hopefully it won't hit us during the race here today. It's a fantastic circuit, this one, John. Ups and downs, lefts and rights, fantastic.
Yeah, 4.6 kilometre a lap, 15 turns, turn 15, that big roller coaster ride of a double right-hand corner that takes you onto start-finish straight, where we've seen speeds getting up to in excess of 270 kilometres per hour. Ferrari on one occasion, that's the single Ferrari in the race, got 275 kilometres per hour. And I'll take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. There you can see the grid forming up. It's not long now before we get the formation lap underway. The race due to start in just 5 minutes' time. On pole position on the left-hand side is Christopher Mies. Alongside him on the front row is the 84 Bentley of Vincent Abril. Then it's Van Thor and Winkelhock on row 2. Ortelli on the left, Dolby on the right. They are on the 3rd row of the grid. Then we've got Marco Bononomi and Norbert Siedler in that lime green 333 Rinaldi Ferrari. Next up, Sergio Jimenez on the left in 9th position on the grid alongside Jules Simkowiak in the 2nd of the HTP Bentleys. It's Frank Stippler in 11th place on the grid alongside Alexei Vasiliev, and then Valdeno Brito right there down in 13th position on the grid. They are 3rd in the championship, and joining them on the back row is Christoph Buschu driving that GT Russian team Mercedes SLS. Formation lap about to get underway then, and as far as the championship is concerned, briefly, it is Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor who are leading that championship. They have got 78 points, 15 points clear of Vincent Abril and Maximilian Buch, who are then subsequently 4 points clear of Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. So that's the way that the championship is going into this 1-hour race. Only not a huge amount of points up for grabs in this qualifying race, just 8 points for victory, but it's all about getting your grid slot for tomorrow.
Yes, but also what's happened here this weekend is that all of a sudden, as you look at the grid, drivers, the position, sorry, just to cut across, have been dominated by a lot of penalties being applied for track abuse. Something to watch for in this 1 hour event this afternoon.
Mies and Abril then on row 1, Vanthor and Winkelhock row 2, then we've got Stefan Ortelli and Craig Dolby on the 3rd row of the grid, and then on row 4 we've got Marco Bononomi and Norbert Siedler. They will be in 7th and 8th positions respectively. Then we've got Sergio Jimenez, the first of the BMW Team Brazil cars. The BMW's not really liking this circuit here. We've got Frank Stippler and Marco Asma then on the next row of the grid, rounding it off with Valdeno Brito and Christophe Bouchou. The 88 Lamborghini will have to start from the pits if they can get going. There are the cars then making their way around. No sign yet of the 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. We'll see if they leave the pits. They've got to change the engine after a problem in qualifying, and whatever happens, they'll be out for the race tomorrow, but it was getting touch and go for today.
I mean, it's been an interesting qualifying, as I say, really dominated for me by the number of penalties that were issued to drivers who had just completed a great lap and then realised that they'd exceeded track limits, so that's something we're going to keep an eye on. And also, actually, just noticed on the 5th row of the grid, Cacabueno and Sergio Jimenez in the BMW. After qualifying, there was almost like a bit of a standoff between Jimenez and Bueno in the pits, because Jimenez was having a right go at Bueno, and Bueno was refusing to look him in the eye. So obviously there was something there's the Lamborghini waiting to start, so it will take the start, thank goodness. But obviously, even within a team, there was a little bit of uncomfortableness about what one or the other may or may not have done, or how they conducted themselves in that qualifying session. So, interesting session all told.
Absolutely, it certainly was. And we've got Christopher Mies on pole position for the first time this season. It's the 3rd WRT Audi pole. I think it's the 4th WRT Audi pole of the 5 races so far. Only Nicky Katzberg and Albert von Taxis last time out in Moscow were able to stop them as they now make their way around. So good to see Nicky Katzberg at the end of the pit lane in that Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. Expect him to be charging up through the order pretty swiftly. There's the final corner at turn 15. The car's getting into formation, the windscreen wipers going just a little bit, maybe a few drops of rain here on the circuit in the Algarve ahead of the 1 hour sprint race that will decide the main race grid for the action tomorrow. In comes the safety car. When all the cars have crested this hill, the lights will go out and the round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series will be underway. Watch for the lights, everybody running at the same speed. Anytime now, we will go racing, and who's going to get the best start? It's immediately Vincent Abril moving to the right-hand side to try and cut off, and he's managed to do it. So another great start from Abril to move into the lead of the race. We're on board with the race leader. Christopher Mies trying to go around the outside, goes all 4 wheels off. Where is Mies in the Audi? He's back in front. That could be contentious. Vanthor in 3rd, Winkelhock 4th, and in 5th place we've got Stefan Ortelli. So pretty much as you were up at the front, but I imagine that move from Christopher Mies may be investigated, John.
Yeah, it may well be. It was a little bit of force majeure on the part of Christopher Mies. He got heavily squeezed coming down into turn 1. He then repaid the pleasure on the exit of turn 1. He had to go off track, but in doing so he gained position. Again, there must be spots of rain around the circuit. More cars, we see the wipers beginning to be used as they come up the hill into turn 7, and well, that advantage, if we look at the second of the Bentley, dives down the inside of the BMW into turn 7, and hard to see whether he got that done.
Yes,
he did indeed.
That was Jules Simkowiak making a move on Valdeno Brito, who must have got him at the start as they crest the hill. Then we've got Craig Dolby up there. I think he's remained in 6th position, and Laurens Vanthor very close to the back of Vincent Abril as they now drop down the hill up towards turn 13. A pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes where they'll come in, change all 4 tyres, change drivers, and head back out onto the circuit once more. So it's Christopher Mies who leads as we come round to complete the end of the first lap, and he's already managing to bridge a bit of a gap back to Vincent Abril behind.
Yeah, and some drivers just have favourite racetracks, and from memory, I think Christopher Mies was very, very quick here last year. Of all the Audi drivers, probably was the quickest. And again, this weekend, he seems to just dial into the racetrack with the Audi, where others have maybe struggled in those Audis. Christopher Mies, now look at the Bentley, look at the straight line advantage he thinks he's got, but he hasn't got any advantage when it gets into the braking.
Again, a little wipe of the Windscreen, oh, side by side here, and that's the Rinaldi Ferrari trying to force his way past Frank Stippler. And in fact, I think that's Stippler going past Seidler rather than the other way round. Yes, so that's 8th position now for Frank Stippler, and he started in 11th place in that number 4 WRT Audi. So that is good work from Stippler. But you can see, couldn't you? Oh, the Nissan slowing down. Craig Dolby, or is he on the attack actually, coming down towards the left-hander hairpin? We'll try and have it. No, he is slowing down.
He pulled over immediately to the left, so something has happened to the Nissan. Craig Dolby has slowed right down. The entire field has now gone through, waiting for the Lamborghini's also gone through. So a great disappointment for that team. They were expecting great things, always evolving motorsport, now running the car on behalf of Sean Walkinshaw. So something that's going to take that car back into the pits effectively out of the race.
Windscreen wipers on a little bit more regularly, a couple of spots of lens on the camera there as well. Car 2, which is Christopher Mies, our race leader, has been told he must respect track limits, and also that overtake is under investigation now by the stewards.
Yes, and there's Sean Walkinshaw, disappointment on his face. I have to think that what happened to Christopher Mies was that he was put into a position. Now, he could have backed out of it, that's the argument, and he did gain a position, which is going to be the counter argument. So it will be interesting to see how the stewards read that particular event.
Now look how good the Bentley is through this final corner. Make a sort of mental note of the gap between the two cars there, the race leaders, and then wait and see them as they come across the line now, because it's going to be absolutely a bit closer as they come through and charge down the back straight, and he is definitely closing in as they come down towards turn 1.
Damage on the other Bentley now. There's waved oil, there's debris on the racetrack. Now, whether that's as a result of contact, but the other thing is the Bentley has got about a 3 or 4 kilometre benefit advantage in top speed. Again, back to this battle with the Ferrari and the number 4 Audi.
And it's Frank Stippler's. Oh, there's been a bit of a challenge there, I think, by Vincent Abril, but he's not quite close enough as they come out now onto the stretch, down towards the hairpin at turn 5. And Christopher Mies is having to go defensive on the run down towards the hairpin. And there's nothing at the moment that Vincent Abril can do, and he needs to have half an eye on what's going on behind him as well.
Exactly that. Who's lurking behind? The L-man, Laurens van Thor.
Championship leader. Marcus Winkelhock actually is the fastest man of anyone in this first sector. It's a gearbox problem for that Nissan, for Always Evolving Motorsport, and that is a real shame for Dolby, because they had there's a Marshall getting the debris off the circuit. It was from the Frank Stippler's Audi.
Yeah, never happy to see Marshalls running on racetrack. Fortunately, the entire field is at the far side of the circuit, and that little bit of debris has been cleared. But the battle for the lead, Christopher Mies being advised about abuse of track limits, and that's the first call that we have seen. We're only, 5 minutes or so into the race, and already one driver has been given a warning, and I'm sure teams are on the radio to all their drivers to advise them not to abuse the track limits. Laurens van Thor much closer to the back of the Bentley, coming through turn 14. But again, the Bentley's got that slight straight line speed advantage.
Yeah, those twisty bits are where it comes into the hands of the Audis, because they're able to close in. But then here, as we crest the hill, there's the lead Audi and Christopher Mies. You can see that now the Bentley is closer to Mies than he is to Van Thor, so it really does ebb and flow over the course of the lap. I think we're going to have a move here from Norbert Seidler trying to get past Marco Bononomi down into turn 1. Leaders stay nose to tail as they come down into turns 2 and then 3. Try and keep an eye out for whether Seidler made that move on Bononomi for 6th position. They'll be the next 2 cars. Yes, he did. So Seidler manages to get through in the Rinaldi Ferrari.
Probably more an electronic issue with the gear shift on the Nissan that's making its way down to the end of the pit lane. So hopefully that's all it is. But of course it'll end up now being little more than a test session for the Nissan team, who are expecting Always Evolving Motorsport to learn a great deal here in Portimao.
Yep, unless they get a safety car, because I don't think they've gone a lap down. Well, they might have done actually. I'll keep an eye out for that one. Laurens van Thor is the fastest man in this first sector. There's the charging Norbert Seidler in the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari. They're not really in championship contention, down in 5th place in the standings. There's his teammate Marco Seifried.
Yeah, he had a massive spin coming through turn 15 early on this morning in qualifying, and rotated, I think, the best part of 360 degrees before he got the car more or less pointing in the right direction. And a bit of an early morning wake-up call for the German driver.
Yep, certainly is. So here are Race leaders again. It's Mies leading, Vincent Abril second in the HTP Bentley, third Laurens Vanthoor in the WRT Audi, then it's the Phoenix Audi of Marcus Winkelhock ahead of the other WRT Audi of Stefan Otelli, and then we've got Marco Bononomi, who's a couple of seconds further back, coming through. No, we haven't, of course. We've got Seidler. We saw him go past Marco Bononomi, so we'll see how quickly Seidler can try and close in. And already Nicky Katzberg has made his way up the order. He's now up into 11th position, I believe, as they come across the line. Yes, he's got past Jules Simkovic on that last lap, so Nicky Katzberg in that 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini is making progress, and he could well be within the top 7 by the end of this stint, I'd have thought.
Yes, of course, he's going to hand over. Well, there we're going to see the start again. This is going to be the big squeeze at Vincent Abril. He went literally from left to right, reasonably aggressively, but of course everybody else behind, the Christopher Mies then was forced over to the right as well. But here, as Mies attempts to go around the outside, there is...
No, there's... Well, I mean, for me, Mies put himself
I
there.
think he should have backed out of that one, because he gained an advantage. He was quicker ultimately from the corner than the Bentley would have been.
And the Bentley is ahead here as when you get on the brakes.
Legitimately ahead.
But Mies brakes much later to take more speed off towards Portimao.
That's the benefit of having replays. We get a clearer view, and from that I would not be surprised if Christopher Mies has got to either hand back the lead of the race to the Bentley or might suffer a penalty. But in the heat of the moment at the first corner, lots of things go on, so Christopher Mies maybe felt that he was squeezed. My view is now that he could have backed out of it, or if he did get the benefit, let the Bentley then retake the lead. Contact going on. I mean, that's always what happens down in turn 3. The BMW nosing into the back
of the Ferrari as they come now through the final corner, and we've just had confirmation on the screens that it's a drive-through penalty for car number 2, Christopher Mies, for overtaking while not respecting the track limits. There you can see the message from race control up at the top. And does it surprise you that WRT didn't say let him back through? That's quite clear.
That would have been my move. If I'd been in the pit wall, I would have said immediately let the Bentley take the lead. The issue is partly the fact that he gained an advantage, but it was an abuse of the track limits, and this is getting hammered home this weekend in a way I've not seen it happen for a number of seasons, and not before time, not just in Blancpain GT, SRO, whatever, but in motor racing in general. The abuse of track limits is something that's been getting out of control for many years, and I wish we were seeing more, if you like, headmaster-like control from race directors around the world, and imposing penalties for drivers who just don't seem to get it. There's a racetrack, there's a limit on either side of the racetrack. Stay within it.
Done?
Well, I'll come up with something in a minute.
I absolutely agree.
You know, to some degree, one might say it's going to take something away from the race. One might say, if you were being a little bit less harsh, you might have said, instruct your driver, Mies, number 2, to fall back behind number 84, second place car of Avril.
Because it will remove the battle for the lead a little here, but Mies was in the lead, you know, illegally. So, you know, it's I think it's the right decision as they come down now through the final corner at turn 15. You can see Mies has really started to stretch his legs, and he's going to...
He's coming in now.
Stay out.
No, he's not. Wow. Well...
There's Enzo Eid, teammate of Christopher Mies, and
his day is gone, sort of somewhat pear-shaped. But you know, it's just that's into turn 1. Always problems with cars running off the track. Running off the track was one of the issues. The other was getting the advantage. So the double kiss, as it were, has led to this penalty, a drive-through penalty. And I'm sure Christopher Mies will not be happy. In the meantime, Nicky Katzberg has now got ahead of the BMW of Sergio Jimenez up into 9th place, and he's got just directly ahead of him Frank Stippler in the number 4 Audi.
Yep, good drive there from Nicky Katzberg. We're on board with Laurens Vanthoor coming down into the hairpin of turn 5. That's what will be the race-leading Bentley of Vincent Abril in front of us as we climb up through 6, then into 7 and 8, the double right-hander. You can see how the Bentley was able to throw itself and take a lot more speed into that turn 7. And oh, there's the move done for Nicky Katzberg. He's now up to 8th place, past Frank Stippler into turn 7. And another position gained for the Lamborghini. Really impressive drive this from Katzberg, as we've come to expect.
Yes, I mean, Nicky Katzberg did a brilliant job. We know that just a month ago in the Spa 24 Hours in a BMW for the VDS team. Now he's got Marco Bononomi directly ahead of him in only 0.8 of a second, so he's going to have his sights. Realistically, he's going to be looking at a top 6 position, which is, considering he started from the rear of the field, albeit we haven't got as large a field here as we've had in other events. There's the rain beginning to tell its tale. And how much is that going to come into play? Because if it does actually get sufficiently wet, the pit stop windows between 35 and 25 minutes, teams will not want to have to go in, put on a set of wets, and then realise they have to go back out again or come in again and put on. So the whole thing is going to be in the hands of team managers and weather forecasters and looking skywards. Right now, track is dry, although there are raindrops falling.
So Christopher Mies leads this race, but he still has to serve a drive-through penalty for overtaking illegally at the start. So Vincent Abril effectively is leading, but he's currently 2nd on the road, ahead of Laurens van Thor, championship leader, in 3rd spot, and Marcus Winkelhock behind. Stefan Ortelli subsequently. There's Vincent Voss. I just wonder if WRT are appealing or complaining or something, and that's why he's not coming in yet. I
just wonder whether the discussion that's going on with race director may well be more to do with the penalty rather than the actual crime. Is the penalty too severe for the crime? Bearing in mind it was turn 1, opening lap. There was a lot of pressure from Abril going into turn 1. He really did squeeze the right-hand side of the grid. So there may be, in their opinion, mitigation which they would like to be considered. So the option might be, well, rather than a drive-through penalty, you could add a 10-second time penalty to his race finishing time, which would probably drop him down currently to around about 7th. That's 10 seconds is between 1st and 7th place. Or alternatively, they might just say, okay, let the Bentley take the lead. But then others would say, well, where's the point of having restrictions on track limits if you're going to be bullied by a team principal into changing your judgment? So it goes on and on and on.
Penalties don't tend to be negotiable, do they? As through the final corner comes Christopher Mies and stays out again. He's got Vincent Abril a little closer this time around. The gap was 1.4 seconds. It's now 0.8 seconds. So Abril was quick on that last lap. But we go on board with Nicky Katzberg now. That's Marco Bononomi up in front of us. And look at this. Good straight line speed here from the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini Gallardo down towards turn 1. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a move, but I don't think it'll be too long before Nicky Katzberg is up into 7th position, or at least challenging for that 7th position.
And it's little Winky, Marcus Winkelhock, who actually is beginning to put a bit of pressure on Laurens van Thor, currently in 3rd, and Van Thor has dropped back by almost, he's now 1.5 seconds behind the 2nd place Bentley. You can see the gap. Winkelhock looking in the G2 Audi R8 LMS, and it's looking to try and squeeze Laurens van Thor as we see this battle again going on for 7th place. And I wonder how long it will be before Nicky Katzberg, the momentum that he's had since he started in the pit lane, will carry him up and beyond what is now the 7th place Audi of Marco Bononomi.
So here we go into turn 8, climbing up the hill.
Lamborghini turns in better than the Audi, back to this battle for 3rd place.
Van Thor in that 3rd place at the moment, and he has dramatically dropped back from the rear of the Bentley as we go back on board with Nicky Katzberg. So we've got a battle over 3rd and a battle over 7th at the moment. And we're on board with the 8th place car of Nicky Katzberg.
Katzberg really can't do an awful lot around these sort of turns 12, 13, 14. He will try and then get it launched as he comes off, 14 down. Look how close he got to the back of the Audi, and there is he's in. So the appealing from WRT regarding the penalty has been lost. So the penalty is now being served. Vincent Abril takes control of the race with a comfortable, well, 1.6 seconds can be comfortable. He's got a comfortable 1.6 second advantage.
Yep, so Vincent Abril leads for the HTP Bentley team. Christopher Mies serving his drive-through penalty. Laurens van Thor is in 2nd place. Marcus Winkelhock is in 3rd position. That's Enzo Eid, the man who will get into that number 2 WRT Audi at the back of the field. And not quite at the back, because we've got Craig Dotno. That Nissan did lose a lap, unfortunately, so They are still down in 15th place, Craig Dolby and Sean Walkinshaw. But it's all going to be about the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, I think, at the moment, because didn't quite catch what...
I think Enzo was giving some kind of sign language, which I think meant everything's good, don't worry about it, we'll be back at the races when it comes down to the Sunday, the money race rather than the position race, which is what Saturday's race normally is for.
Absolutely. 43 minutes left, and off into the gravel trap goes Marco Bononomi.
Damage to the right rear. Is that a consequence of a tap from the Lamborghini? Well, or is that secondary damage?
The Lamborghini was there, and he's managed to keep it going and get himself out of the gravel trap. That's good work from Bononomi.
Oh, in fact, maybe that was just the way the light was shining in the bodywork. There's no damage whatsoever. Just was a quirk. Here we go into turn 7
back.
And coming into turn 8
himself.
Between turns. He got on the curb and spun it up. He spun the right rear and the left rear at the same time, and on the slippier curve it just rotated around. So Felipe Salaquada walks back and thinks, well, my mate was doing a good job, but that he's just given away 7th place to Nicky Katzberg, who will now be lasering in on the tail of the number 6 or 6th place Ferrari of Norbert Siedler.
Yep. But here comes Marcus Winkelhock. Look how close he is to the back of Laurens van Thor, and the braking for turn 1. 42 minutes to go here in the qualifying race of the 5th round of the Blancpain Sprint Series season. And championship leader Laurens van Thor is under big pressure now from Marcus Winkelhock, both in Audi R8s, but one being run by the WRT team, the other being run by the Phoenix Audi team.
But don't get too excited, because we've still got the pit stop to come. And whatever we've got on racetrack right now, and there's a battle going on for that 2nd place between the respective Audi teams, it'll all come down to who is most efficient in the pit lane.
Certainly will.
But what was I talking about? Pit stops.
Yeah.
So pit stops will be ultimately the decision factor, whether Bentley can get in and out quickly. We know that Audi do really good stop in, change out pit stops.
The other Bentley is down in 10th place at the moment. Jules Simkowiak at the wheel, quite up close to Christophe Bouchou. And then we'll keep an eye on Siedler and Katzberg, whether they're not really closing in on this gang in front. There's about a 3.5 second gap from this lead group back to the Ferrari, and they're lapping at a similar pace as Nicky Mermanov takes some energy marshmallows and watches on as his teammate Marcus Winkelhock is looking to take that 2nd place away. Through the final corner they come, the cascading down turn 15, and then up over the crest. We've got 5 minutes till the pit stop window opens. I don't imagine many of these guys will come in as soon as possible. They'll probably stay out for a little longer.
I would think that they will stay out as late as they can, primarily because with that uncertainty about the little sort of rain shower that we had, really not noticeable on the circuit itself, but we saw the wipers on cars being operated, so you don't want to come in and then really having to make a pit stop, a 2nd pit stop the following lap. So they're going to probably hang out as long as they can. And currently Vincent Abril lapping roughly in the sort of now middle 1 minute 46s, fractionally quicker than we're seeing from his Chargers in 2nd and 3rd place.
So now we're seeing Marco Bononomi trying to unlap himself from behind Craig Dolby as they come through the right-hander and then start to climb the hill. Yes, so Bononomi got out just in front of Christopher Mies as they come through the left-hander. Now, we're looking for a jump start here. Apparently, there's rumours that there might be one, so we're just trying to keep an eye on it. You're not allowed to break formation before the lights go out. There go the lights. Well,
certainly the Audi, I thought, had the slight advantage, but then the Bentley just powers its way up along and then head. So it's very difficult to tell on that head-on shot. The cars are coming literally in your face. So I wouldn't get too excited about a start. That's the issue there that really has been the focal point for the stewards to determine how much advantage and how much did the Audi number 2 of Christopher Mies run off track. And this battle for 2nd place, Laurens van Thor seems to have consolidated, and Marcus Winkelhock, having caught up to him, isn't really able to do very much more, so just nip and tuck all around the racetrack. And if anything, it's Stefano Telli who's now hovering to make it an Audi trio in second through fourth place.
You wonder if Winkelhock was able to get past, whether he'd be able to mount a bit of an attack on Vincent Abril, because at the moment Abril's getting away by 0.3 of a second a lap.
Well, let's not wonder. Let's make a commitment, and let's say yes, if he got ahead of Lawrence Van Thor, he could make inroads into the Bentley.
There we go, heard it here first. Down into the hairpin of turn 5 then, and you can see these two pretty much running at the same pace because they are running nose to tail on the track. Through goes Vincent Abril, the race leader for the HTP team. And it was interesting what Maxi Book said after the last race in Moscow, where they didn't have the fastest car, but they won. And that was, you know, what got he and Maxi Goetz to win the title last year in Blancpain Sprint, was that they didn't always have the fastest car in that Mercedes SLS, but they'd end up winning, even if they didn't have the outright pace.
Well, and pace is only a part of winning these events, because position on the grid is very important. Your pace obviously is important. To me, the key to winning one of these races is getting in and out of the pits quicker than your competitors, because if you can make up time in the pit lane, it's a lot easier than making it up on the circuit. And then once you've gone through the cycle of your pit stops, and assuming you're in the lead, then you have to basically consolidate that position by running no quicker than the competitors running behind you. I make it sound awfully easy, don't I?
Exactly. 37 minutes to go then, 2 minutes before the pit window opens, so it won't be, well, not for these guys, it won't be the end of this lap. It might be actually. No, it won't be for our race leaders, but I don't think they'll come in anyway. But maybe for your likes of your Stiplers and your Jimenezes and your Bouchus, they may be getting ready to come in at the next time around, as our leaders come up to 3. The 84 HTP Bentley of Vincent Abril continues to lead the way. Lawrence Van Thor there, number 1 in second position. And Winkelhock is close, he's close.
Yeah, but he's close, but he knows that he can't afford to take the risk. If he's not capable of getting alongside Lawrence Van Thor, for example, here into turn 5, if he tries to take a punt down the inside from a long way back, the inevitable is going to happen. That would be contact between the two cars, and that would be the worst option of what we see right now, where I'm sure Winkelhock feels that, and I think he's justified in feeling it, if he was ahead of Lawrence Van Thor, he could certainly try and make some inroads into that 2.5 second advantage between first and second.
Valdeno Brito is battling with Marco Asma over 11th place, and I think Asma's been trying to attack him for that 11th spot, but that 77 car is the 3rd place car in the championship, and this weekend could put them, you know, maybe not out of contention, but it's certainly going to be a dent if they finish this race in 11th place.
I mean, the Mercedes is all over the rear of the BMW. Looks to go up the inside. A risky place to do it, because there the road is blind. You're you're aiming the car where you think the apex is, as the race leader Vincent Abril, and yeah, nice clean exit, no abuse of the circuit limit. Comes across the line, 1 minute 47.3 against a 46.8 for Lawrence Van Thor. Van Thor has picked the pace up again. He's sort of ebbed and flowed lap on lap. Some laps he's doing a 147, some he's doing a 146.
Oh, that's brave from Christopher Mies up the inside of Marco Bononomi. Came from a long way back. Bononomi gave him space, and they're going to go side by side through this final. Well, no, they're not. Mies is going to go through. So Christopher Mies up into 13th position then, past Marco Bononomi. Both of those two have had their trials today, and Bononomi decides to come in to hand over to Felipe Salaquada with the pit window open, also in his Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez's car, the 0 BMW. I wonder if Jimenez will strap him in a little tighter today after
or maybe leave the belts loose. Actually, the worst option is having them loose rather than being tight. So here we see Bononomi in,
handing over to Felipe Salaquada. So difficult day for ISR, unfortunately, after showing some good pace in qualifying. And there's still this battle going on, and Valdeno Brito ahead of Marco Asma just about.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes tried to go the long way around down at turn 5, and of course, being on the inside as the BMW was, he had control on the exit, and he then actually was able to control the speed off the corner from the Mercedes at the same time, which is one of the little tricks as a racing driver you soon learn to develop to give you somewhat of an advantage, as we see again. Number 84, the lead Bentley. The Bentley's been pretty quick also in the straight. I mean, outside of the Nissan, it's been the quickest the best of the
he's
rest.
in.
An early stop, interesting.
Yeah, so Vincent Abril comes in to hand over to Maxi Buch. Buch was actually quicker in the qualifying session earlier on today, so this is one to keep an eye on. So the 84 Bentley comes in from the lead of the race. Now there is Max Buch in his new helmet. Used to be a sort of orangey, reddy number. Now he's gone blue, like the car, I suppose. Let's see how well this pit stop goes for the HTP squad. A very experienced outfit. Away go the tyres. The car goes off the jacks.
Good stop.
And away it goes. Looked pretty clean to me.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that one. And, you know, the guys, that's what it's all about. You know, they came in, the pit lane was clear. They didn't have any concern with any other traffic around them, so they did their job and did it well.
So now the question is, how long will these two stay out for, Van Thor and Winkelhock? Because, I mean, it's not a massive undercut like Formula One, but Maxi Buch's tyres will be a little fresher, but equally a little colder. So we'll have to wait and see. Down the hill. Then through the left-hander at 12, which brings them up to 13. Rear of Van Thor's car, they're looking pretty unstable, you have to say, under braking.
I think maybe that's been some of the problem he's been facing, you know, throughout the race. He's not comfortable with the car. He's not showing the kind of pace that we normally expect, and he's been under challenge from Marcus Winkelhock, who's done everything but get past the second place, the Audi of Lawrence Van Thor, the number one Audi on the door, and most people's minds probably the number one driver in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So 31 and a half minutes to go. Still, we've got this battle between Valdeno Brito and Marco Asma continuing, and it is still Brito who's in front, but so far back off the race lead, it's a bit surprising. I mean, okay, the circuit doesn't suit the BMWs perhaps as much, but to be this far off is quite incredible, considering that car has been off the podium in 2 races out of the 8 we've had so far this season, and even then they were 5th. To see them now some 27 seconds off the lead of the race is a big surprise for the Brazilian BMW crew, and I don't think it's a happy surprise for them at what is their sort of home race.
I mean, I don't know whether, I mean, I know it's not cold, but it's not Brazilian weather, and we've seen that they do like and they do perform well in those conditions. I mean, this is a circuit which I would have thought would have suited the BMW very well, because there's no real part of the racetrack which is dominating top speed, not like Paul Ricard, for example, although the BMW here is slowest of all the manufacturers in a straight line. But the bits around the rest of the circuit should more than compensate. As we see, another spot of water on the camera lens in the pit lane. So Max Buch has rejoined in 12th place. So wait and see just where all this plays out. Waiting for the lead and second place Audis to make their pit stop. We've got just coming up to here we are. So Van Thor is in. I think he'd be quite happy to get out of the car. I don't think this has been a happy stint for Lawrence Van Thor. And it'll be Robin Vriend standing there with a seat insert in his right hand, who will pop in and hopefully won't be shocked by how the car is performing. There's a great drive by Nicky Katzberg.
Yeah, he's right on the back of Norbert Siedler now. The other interesting part of this is whether Marcus Winkelhock can use the clear air to perhaps leapfrog this number one WRT Audi.
He's got this lap and one more lap in which he can try and pick up, maybe it'll be no more than maybe 2 seconds a lap, or 2 seconds over the 2 laps. But every 2 seconds counts. It means there's a little bit less pressure here in the pit lane for the Phoenix team to get that car serviced. Robin Vriend gets away.
So now the question is, where is that 84 HTP Bentley? Coming around the final corner is the answer. Max Buch at the wheel. Robin Vriend is making his way out of the pit lane now. This is going to be quite tight, actually. The number one WRT Audi hits the limiter and floors the throttle. This is going to be very, very close between the two of them, and I think the number 1 car is into the lead, but Buch's going to have the momentum. Buch's going to have the speed. Buch's going to attack on the run down towards turn 3, noses towards the inside, not close enough to get past, and the number 1 WRT Audi championship leaders have managed to leapfrog the Bentley.
And Maximilian Buch had to get on the brakes big time because he was about to run into the back of the Audi, and that's what I was talking about, pit stops and winning a race in the pit lane, and that's what WRT have done. They've given their driver Robin Friends the opportunity to get into the lead of this race because they did a quicker pit stop than the great pit stop we saw from the Bentley team, the HTP team.
Now the question is, what has Marcus Winkelhock been up to whilst the others have been battling and fighting? Can Winkelhock get himself into this fight as well? His last lap of 46.9, which wasn't astonishing from Vinky, but he comes into the pits now, and we'll see where because he was just behind the number 1 WRT car. So in theory, he's pretty much where the Bentley is now, depending on how the pit stops pan out.
Again, it's going to be about pit stops as the Lamborghini comes in. A great drive by Nicky Katzberg, going to hand over to Albert von Thun and Taxis. In the meantime, just having seen a Salaquada actually on his outlap, did the fastest sector time. So here is the battle for the lead now, and this is not quite because there's still Stippler in effect is in the lead. Frank Stippler, everybody else above him has now made pit stops. Come on, get the car running. Come on, Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff. What are you? You've lost 3 seconds sitting there.
On board with the Bentley coming through the final corner. Really good run through there from Maxi Buch, and he is closing in on the back of Robin Freins as they come down towards turn 1. Keep an eye out to the right hand side. Are we going to see a Phoenix Audi? Not quite. Now Buch looks to the inside into turn 1, gets on the brakes, gets the lead of the race. Freins tries to hold on very cleverly. Buch just opens up the steering a little and squeezes him out wide. Bentley back in the lead.
Yeah, that was a good overtake by the German driver Maximilian Buch. He got the advantage off turn 15, that little bit of additional straight line speed that Bentley has over the Audi. I noticed actually quite early in the pit straight, Robin Freins was dabbing the brakes just to make sure that when he got on the brakes into turn 1 there was a full pedal. So is that an issue that maybe we're not aware of? Because this car has not been performing, the number 1 Audi, to the normal level that one would expect, and maybe Robin Freins, by just showing that, dabbing the brake just to make sure the pedal is there when I get wanted big time.
So great stuff from Maximilian Buch to seize the initiative and seize the lead of the race going down into the first corner. 26 minutes to go. We haven't had Stippler and Marco Asma make their pit stops yet. Everyone else has been into the pits, so Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff has emerged in what I believe will be a net 3rd position as they come through the right-hander now of turn 12 and drop down the hill. Here's a look at the replay then, and sells him the dummy a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's good overtaking. And been side by side turning in. The Bentley's got to slow down more than the Audi because it's a tighter apex for him. And in doing so, the back of the car got unstable, forcing Freins to have to go off track. And I would call that a racing incident. There's no malice. What Freins did was pretty fair. He didn't try to deliberately block. But here you can see how much tighter it was. I mean, just simply, Maxi Buch couldn't get the car slowed down. And I would let that go as a racing incident.
There's Renaud Dufour, the man with his arms folded on the right-hand side, the man who looks after the HTP team, and there's Vincent Abril looking a little nervy, but there's no real need to because now the pit stop window is closed and he's stretched his lead a little bit as Maxi Buch. So that means overall we've got the 84 Bentley in the lead, the number 1 Audi in 2nd place, 3rd is number 6 Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff, and still in 4th place is the 333 Ferrari. So we haven't actually had it from pit window opening to pit window closing. The positions are the same, but we've had a few change rounds in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, WRT did a great job on the number 1 Audi. They turned it around fractionally quicker than HTP did with the Bentley. But of course, Max Buch behind the wheel and with his dander up and a bit of momentum on the straight, put himself into a position, was a bit untidy at the end of the straight, did force Robin Freins off the track. But as I say, that one I would put down to being a racing incident, and there was no contact between either car, which I think is a good sign of both the quality of driving of both the drivers.
Now this is Caco Bueno in the 0 Brazilian BMW. He's right up behind Stefan Rakelmi, one of 3 Monegasque drivers in the field, and they're battling over 9th position. So what's that, row 5 on the grid for tomorrow's main race. We've that just hasn't cancelled out, has it, since James Nash came into the pit lane. So yeah, race order is as it was. The next thing is going to see what kind of pace Marco Seifried can do and whether he can possibly close in on Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Here comes our race leader over the line, Maximilian Buch, a second clear of Robin Freins. Then in third place is Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Now on that last lap, Meyer-Melnhof did a 46.7, whereas Marco Seifried did a 47.4. So Seifried nowhere near quick enough at the moment to close in on that third place number 6 Phoenix car. And then we've got Albert von Turnhen-Taxis in that 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. Good drive from them, considering that they started from the pit lane.
I think it's been an outstanding effort by Nicky Katzberg. Now it's up to Albert von Turnhen-Taxis to consolidate that position. So Albert will, now, unlike in Moscow where he got mugged literally at the start of the Sunday race, I beg your pardon, the Saturday race, because we had 2 races on the Saturday. He's driving now basically without having that pressure of a load of traffic around him, and can focus on the 333 Marco Seifried driven Ferrari, which is currently in 4th place.
So if the race were to finish like this, the gap at the top of the championship would come down to 13 points. And if they finished 1-2 in this same order tomorrow, then the gap at the top of the championship would come down to just 6 points going into the final 2 races of the season at Misano and Zandvoort. So that's the way it lies in terms of the championship, with Buch and Abril closing down on Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins. We're on board now, though, with Marco Seifried.
So he's got a little bit of pressure from behind, and that's pressure that's 1.2 seconds behind. And Albert von Turnhen-Taxis will do a very good job for the Reiter Lamborghini, but Nicky Katzberg clearly on a slightly different level. Leave it there.
Yep, absolutely. There come our lead 2, still separated by just 1 second. And they were almost identical lap times on that previous tour for Maximilian Buch and Robin Freins.
Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in 3rd place has not been able to, get his Audi up to the back of the number 1 Audi in 2nd place, which is where we saw those 2 Audis leave the track when they made their pit stop. So there was a slight delay in leaving the pits for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, and that's pretty much as a battle coming down
Philippe
here.
Salaquada looking to the inside of Enzo Eid. He manages to get the inside line, and that's 11th position now for the ISR Audi.
Now that's how you do it. That's a clean overtake. Enzo Eid recognised that he had no choice, but Salaquada got the car slowed down, and he didn't overrun as he got to the apex. So good bit of driving by the 2 Audi drivers.
And then we'll see whether Valdeno Brito can, well, it'll be Attila Bruna, won't it, in the 77 car, whether they can close in a little. Here's a look at the replay.
Yeah, I mean, side by side, and Enzo goes over to the left, Salaquada, but the key is Salaquada gets the car slowed down, that he can take a line and not then have to run very, very wide and almost run off the circuit, as we did see Maximilian Buch do when he was getting a pass for the lead from Robin Freins.
20 minutes to go here in the Algarve, round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series, and it is Maximilian Buch who is leading the way, former Blancpain Endurance Series champion, and was effectively the Blancpain Sprint Series champion of last year. But you can see that man there, Robin Freins, in the number 1 WRT Audi, Formula Renault 2-litre champion, Formula BMW champion, Formula Renault 3.5 champion. He's closing in. There's the move finally from Max van Splunteren. He's been trying to get past Alexei Kadachev ever since the pit stop window closed, and now Van Splunteren has managed to get his way up into 9th position, while the sister car is leading the race.
And they're still dragging a bit of the bodywork. The left-hand side wing is one of the wheel arches, extension to the wheel arch, sort of dangling in the wind. But Robin Freins is doing a strong drive in this middle part of his stint, as we see him beginning to get into the advantage. We saw the pass down at turn 1. Max Buch made a forceful move there. The wing actually is becoming more detached, I think, as the race goes on. So whether that'll remain in place or whether it may have to be brought in to get it secured, don't think it's of any danger right now. But it'll be interesting to see whether the Audi can actually maintain that slightly elevated pace over the Bentley. The last lap between the two cars were just about a tenth of a second difference, but it looked actually more than that as they came into turn one.
And now Robin Frains has taken 0.2 of a second out of Buch in the first two sectors as well, so it's getting a little closer, Frains, but it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass as they come through the final corner at turn 15 to complete lap 23 and start lap 24 with 18 minutes to go. Now let's time them across the line. It's just 0.6 of a second now, so Frains really closed in on that last lap, but it's tough to pass this Bentley.
Well, the Bentley's got the fractional advantage through turn 15, down the pit straight into turn 1, and Robin Frains, it is difficult to make a clean pass anywhere else around the racetrack. There are options. A little bit of rain again falling on the windscreen coming through turn 4. The gap, you can see it's probably a little more than about 4 car lengths. The camera makes it look longer. Down into turn 5, this is an opportunity to pass, not now, but if you can get yourself closer to the back of the car you're racing, again closes the gap and now maintains. He's shut the gap down, and the Bentley hasn't been able to, that sort of seesaw between braking and accelerating. So Robin Frains, literally by corner, is getting himself into a position where he might want to think about, well, where is my best position on the racetrack? Where can I best think about making an overtake?
Yeah, absolutely. This is 75. Philippe Salaquada now trying to find a way past Alexei Kadachev after Max van Splunteren went past. But the great place to watch that onboard is into the final corner, because you have the Bentley up in front of you. Here's the look from Salaquada. He goes through past Kadachev. That car still recovering from spinning into the gravel earlier on. But yeah, you're on board with the Audi, and the Bentley just disappears away in front of you through the final corner. And it must be very kind of disheartening almost to see. Now just watch him here. They're nose to tail through the final corner.
The trouble, he will lose a little bit of aero on the nose of the car. You can see the gaps opening up. And again, once they get now to the straight itself, that's where the Bentley can consolidate. It's got that 3 to 4 kilometre advantage. And Robin Frains is sitting there, pushing his foot through the firewall, and I mean, probably trying to push it through the radiator if he could manage it, just to get another few miles an hour or kilometres per hour. So this is not the part of the racetrack where it's going to happen for the Audi driver, other than a mistake from Max Buch coming through turn 15. Then the momentum will shift. The best chance is going to be for Robin Frains is going to be down into turn 5. At this point, though, he needs to be much closer to the rear of the Bentley. And you can see again that 4 or 5 car length gap.
Yeah, which then closes down.
It closes down to about 2 and a bit, and he stays like that up the hill. So under acceleration, nothing gained, nothing lost by these two cars. Through turn 6, on the brakes into 7. No way you can really pass a competitive car here without endangering both cars. 8 is just really an extension of turn 7. Then the uphill, then the plunge down, the compression into turn 9. Don't want to think about trying to pass up the hill into 10, because it's a blind apex you're approaching.
Now this is the onboard from Robin Frains. Now if we would just stick with this through the final turn, that's where you really see it. You'll see through this twisty bit, the Audi is stronger, gets on the brakes, closes in. That Bentley isn't quite hooked up.
No, it's not. The back end of the Bentley is moving around a little bit. Where Robin Frains needs to be careful is not to get too close to the Bentley here, but to get to make his charge. But so as he comes into 15, he is not being affected by the Bentley, but he's closing all the way. And again, it's just that very fine balance that Frains has got to find. Look how the Bentley just goes.
Yeah, amazing illustration of the differences between these two cars as Robin Frains gets on the brakes down into turn 1. Very neatly done.
And the one thing that's for sure is Maximilian Buch is cute enough. He's won enough races and he knows how to win a race, to use the strengths of his car and not be bullied by Robin Frains behind him, putting pressure on other parts coming down into turn 5, up through turn 7 and 8, and up the top of the hill into turn 10. He knows that his advantage is going to be on the straight, and as long as he doesn't make any errors or doesn't have something unforeseen. I mean, there's not a lot of traffic around him, so that's not going to come into play. He's really got the handle over the Audi, and with 13, 3/4 minutes remaining, probably it's as safe as it could be.
And now Marco Seefried is starting to close in on Nicky Melnoff by the tune of about 0.8 of a second a lap, and there, out of the race unfortunately, is Stefan Rakelmi. He and Ortelli having a discussion, and I think it was just a mechanical problem for Rakelmi. We didn't see him have any contact out there. So the number 3 WRT Audi out of the race, our first retirement of the race. But yes, Nicky Melnoff is getting closed in a little by Marco Seefried in that battle over third position. Gap's down to 3.5 seconds now, but we've still got 13 minutes to go as these two come nose to tail once again out towards the final corner.
I mean, getting that close, you're never going to win. It took a load of the inside of the corner, because you're having to back off, you're having to check the throttle for two reasons, but primarily loss of downforce from the disturbed air coming off the Bentley, and that means any advantage that you had accelerating off 14, you immediately lose.
Yep, onto the brakes into the first corner. 12.5 minutes to go. But how do you can't, surely the more if you just drop back, then you're going to lose the time there anyway.
The idea for me would be that you use the strengths that you've got, and the Audi clearly has got strengths off 14. He's not being able to exercise his strengths off 15 because he's allowing himself to get too close to the disturbed air from the back of the Bentley, and consequently that affects the front end of the Audi turning into 15. And once he has to then juggle the throttle, he's losing forward momentum because the engine's not driving, it's sort of basically hovering until he can get the grip back on the front tyres to then get onto full throttle.
We've also got a battle brewing for 6th place. Caca Bueno in the BMW Team Brazil car is closing in on James Nash by about 0.6 of a second a lap, and there's only 1.8 seconds between them, so that's one to keep a half an eye on as well. Meanwhile, Seefried and Melnoff, gap came down again, but only by a couple of tenths. So with 11.5 minutes to go, I think that's a big ask for Marco Seefried. We go on board. Look how hooked up that Audi is, and I mean, I don't think Max Buch's missing the apex there intentionally.
No, there's a chance, a very slim chance, for the Audi to get alongside under acceleration. As you can see, the Bentley sort of just making its way to the outside of the corner. But again, Buch has done enough to keep the momentum, and now he's going to be happy days. I'm sitting in the straight and I was going 3, 4, 5 kilometers per hour quicker. Even the aerodynamic drag that the Audi is enjoying is still not enough to keep it in touch with the rear of the Bentley.
How frustrating is that if you're Robin Frains? Do you just start losing your mind, or do you just have to try and think about things?
Well, I mean, I think he's thinking about everything that he knows and is within his own repertoire. He's doing a good job. He's certainly clearly much quicker through the tighter parts of the circuit than the Bentley is, but he hasn't been able to get enough of a run to put himself into a position where he could make a clean. He could take a massive punt and come down the inside, locked up, bang into the side of the Bentley, and hopefully continue in the lead. Well, that wouldn't be very clever. Look how much he has foreshortened the benefit of the Bentley from turn 5 up the hill through 6 into 7. And that all then just evaporates, but as soon as they exit turn 15, adios, I'm away. And Pierre Dudonne, the Audi coordinator, he knows, he's a racing driver, he knows precisely what Robin Frains is having to deal with. And it is a frustration. There is an opportunity, I think, on the entry and exit of turn 14. If Frains can force the Audi up alongside or almost alongside the Bentley, I'm not sure Maximilian Buch would want to make an issue of it in turn 15. That's going to be the best chance, I think, that we can expect from the Audi. So it's down into, he's taking a wider apex now. If he can get the car in, get on the power now, but he's not getting on it any earlier, really, than the Bentley is.
Well, it's fascinating stuff, isn't it? 9.5 minutes to go. Through go the two cars, the final corner, and out once again to complete their 28th lap of racing here at the Algarve, and we've got nose to tail for the lead of the race between the two championship leaders. The car we're on board with is leading the championship, the number 1 WRT Audi of Robin Frains and Laurens van Thor. Abril and Buch, who are leading the race, are second in the standings, 15 points behind, and this also gives them provisionally pole position for the race tomorrow if they hold on to take the victory. I guess there's also that, isn't there, of, you know, it is only the qualifying race. You're not going to do a crazy lunge. Now watch car 1 here, Robin Franks, through this final corner, and there you can see he's got 2 wheels. He hasn't got any wheels on the tarmac, and
Yes.
that is how the stewards decide whether you're going a bit OTT.
Yeah, and I think there will be a warning given for that. There'll be no penalty. There'll be a warning. If you repeat it again and again, then I think the penalty could come. And we know that the stewards and the race director are being much, much more strict on that here this weekend. And Robin Friends, I don't think that was an intentional move to gain an advantage, but he was on the margins of being, you know, given a warning for that.
So there you can see the Bentley leading the way. And there's Dieudonné and Vincent Vos having a discussion. Albert von Turn and Taxis's pit stop is under investigation as well for the Reiter team. Not 100% sure what for, but that's a message that we've got here from race control. Now 7 minutes and 50 seconds to go through turn 14 now. The long right-hander that takes us down to 15, the final corner on the circuit. Caca Bueno hasn't really been able to close in on James Nash much more in their battle over 6th place, and same is true of Nicky Meirmanov and Marco Seifried, so no real battles closing in, apart from Enzo Ede and Valdeno Brito actually for 11th position. They're separated by just half a second at the moment as they plunge down into turn 1 with Maximilian Buch leading the way. Not won a qualifying race yet so far this season. Abril and Buch, they took their first win last time out in the championship race in Moscow, and that all came down to a very quick start from Vincent Abril, and again they managed to get the lead of the way, get the lead of the race away here. Very strong off the line, aren't they, the Bentleys?
Yeah, so it's a circuit I think they've done quite a lot of testing at, and a circuit that seems to suit the qualities the Bentley has. There's a little bit of tension you can see within the pit lane, fingernails getting bitten, and with 6.5 minutes or so to go, Robin Friends is running out of time in terms of putting a major move onto the lead Bentley. He's tried hard everywhere around the racetrack. He's just simply been outgunned when it comes to the straight line performance.
Yep. 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Car 71 has been told to respect the track limits as well. That is Alexei Vasiliev in the Mercedes, who's running last of our runners on the lead lap so far. So it's not just the leaders who are getting warnings. Very wide there for Maximilian Buch, and this could be an opportunity for Robin Franks. Buch's made the mistake. Franks will try and go all the way around the outside. That's not going to work, but he'll try and get the cut back and desperately bring some pace into the final corner, but he's got to be careful not to take too much curb.
And it's the little bit of rain that's beginning to fall. I wonder whether that up in turn 13 was the cause of Buch making that minor error. You could see it from the on-board, and that gave Robin Friends a chance, but unfortunately he went to go the long way around turn 14. Buch on the inside was not going to have any of it at all. But, you know, 5.5 minutes to go, still a bit of racing.
Yeah,
more than we
absolutely.
thought. One little error like that just can suddenly transform. Both drivers make Buch be a little bit more careful, think, oops, next time I come up to turn 13, is my car going to be secure? And Robin Franks is going to be thinking, he's got a problem, I'm going to work on him up there.
Absolutely. And that's one of those scenarios where if that had happened one corner earlier, you feel that they might have been able to get a move done, Robin Franks, because that's the area of the track he was closest. But as it was, where he made the error, the next corner was going to be the strength of the Bentley. Drive-through penalty for cars 70 and 77 for not respecting the track limits. That's Alexei Karachev in the GT Russian racing car and Valdeno Brito for BMW Team Brazil. So not a good weekend for the Brazilians here. In the 77 car, they look to be falling out of championship contention. 4.5 minutes to go, and it's still this battle for the lead that's keeping us all entertained here in southern Portugal, just about an hour away from Faro, as they swing up the hill now. This is where Buch made the mistake last time, and that's where we've seen him go wide most laps, really. He's been struggling to get the Bentley turned into that left-hander of 13.
Didn't get caught out this time. You're wise to there was just that little bit of rain began to fall up in one of the higher areas of the racetrack. Again, Friends needs to be careful not to take too much of the inside of turn 15. And Buch is now consolidated He's got himself back to basically where he was before that minor little wobble, and the gap is slightly less on the straight this time than it has been maybe in some other laps, but still nowhere near enough. And there we look and see, this is, there he comes up and he turns in, and watch the back of the car, it's just about to bobble. It just looked, that camera doesn't give it such a, it was the onboard shot from the Audi that really gave us, there we see it now, that's the shot that really gave us the indication. But of course he was being forced to the outside of the corner the long way around, the dirtier line. Book was able to keep the inside line tight. Friens made the cut back, but again, no momentum to take him forward.
Vincent Abril watching on as his teammate Maximilian Buch continues to lead the race. 3 minutes to go, so we've probably got a couple more laps to go as they swing through the right-hander now up the hill again. Still in third place, Nicky Meyer-Melnoff for the Phoenix Audi team, and that'll be a great result for Meyer-Melnoff and Phoenix. That'll be their first podium of the season so far, their first podium since the final race of last year in Azerbaijan. Fourth on track, Marco Seefried, and fifth on track is Albert von Thurn and Taxis. And again, Friens trying everything he can to get a little bit of an advantage, to do something a little bit different. Through 14 now. He's got a very good drive there, but you can't make an overtake into that final corner, can you? So he has to drop away from the back of the Bentley in front just for a moment. They're coming across the line now to start what will be, I believe, the penultimate lap of the race. So 2 to go here in the Algarve. And it is Maximilian Buch who's leading the way down into turn 1. John has headed off to go and interview the race winner, whoever that will be. We will find out in the next 2 minutes or so. And there you can see Abril looking on a little nervously, because he knows that Max Buch has what it takes to hold on. But the question is, can he? Down to the hairpin again. Von Thurn and Tax is still in 5th place. Good drive from him. Then Nash and Stippler 6th. Walkinshaw and Dolby are still running out there in that Nissan from the always evolving motorsport team. Up the hill, a minute to go, so this is the penultimate lap of the race. You see the different lines that Robin Friens is taking, trying to find a way past. There's the left-hander of 13 that seems to give that Bentley a bit of trouble. As we look back from Maximilian Buch, now we look forward from Robin Friens. Still that rain is lurking, but not heavy enough to do anything about it. So now they come across the line to start the final lap of the race here in the qualifying race in the Algarve. Final lap begins with just half a second between our race leaders. Nerves on the face of Renaud Dufour. Nerves on the face of Vincent Abril. And I imagine all around the WRT garage too. The clock counts down to 0, so we are on the final tour of this Algarve circuit. Where can Robin Friens try and make his pass? It's got to really be up towards 13 and 14, because he's not going to make an overtake going into the final corner. It's got to be done before then. And even if he gets past, oh, look at that great drive out of the corner from Friens. Is he going to be close enough perhaps for a look into 7 or 8? Buch holds the middle ground. And Friens is getting really close now. Much wider line to take into turn 8. And now he's going to have the drive up. They'll crest the hill. The next corner's a left-hander. And he's going to get squeezed towards the outside. Tries to go all the way around the outside. Robin Friens side by side for the lead. There's contact. Friens is through, but he can't get it stopped. And that means that Buch is going to hold on to take victory here in the Algarve. Round of applause from the Bentley garage, because HTP think they've got it wrapped up now. Just 2 more corners to go. What a move that was from Robin Freins. If it had come off, it would have been superb. But Max Buch has held firm. They won the last race of the championship 9 weeks ago in Moscow, and now the men who are second in the championship are going to take some points out of Freins and Vanthor's lead. It's victory for HTP here in Algarve. Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril win the qualifying race. It's second across the line for Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthor, but what a race that was, and what a final lap, and what an effort as well from Robin Freins to try and get through. He knew he had to do something different. He almost pulled it off. Third across the line, Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Marcus Fingerlock, their first podium since Baku last year. Fourth across the line, Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. It's a fifth place for Albert von Turnentaxis and Nicky Katzberg after starting from the pit lane. Sixth across the line is going to be James Nash, just about from Caca Bueno, so Bueno closed in towards the end of that race. But what great clean racing that was as well. I think that was the highlight of that. Max van Splunteren comes through in 8th position, and he wins his class. Philippe Salaquada finishes in 9th. 10th is going to be Enzo. No, I think Enzo Eads lost out on this last lap. What's happened to... No, there goes Ead across the line then. Oh, the Karachevs, they're about to lap him, so that's what confused me. He finished a place behind Enzo Ead, but he was about to be lapped, so that explains that one. So it's Ead in 10th. Alexei Vasiliev wins the Pro-Am class in 11th position. 12th for Karachev, 13th for Brito, 14th for Walkinshaw, and Stefan Rakelmi failed to finish the race. And there is the 173 Nissan, but wow, what a final lap that was. And you have to say, full credit to Robin Freins. It didn't look as though he had any chance of even making a move happen, but he very, very nearly got there, side by side through that downhill left-hander at turn 9, up the hill into 10 and 11. Fantastic, clean racing from, you have to say, two of the top young talents in the world. Maximilian Buch, Blancpain Endurance Series champion, FIA GT3 European champion, and Robin Freins, who had a fantastic few seasons in single Zetas where he won Formula BMW, Formula Renault 2 litre and Formula Renault 3.5 in consecutive years. But it's Buch and Abril who come out on top and will start tomorrow's race on pole position. They also bring the championship lead of Vanthor and Freins down to just 13 points. And Freins has just been given a warning flag for car number 1, which is the car he's driving, clearly. So he's been given a warning flag for track limits. He wasn't pushing it too much, was he? I think there was that one time he went a bit overboard, but in general, I thought they were reasonably behaved. But it's going to be great to hear from Maxi Buch, because he really had pressure on that final lap. And well, I don't think you could get more pressure than he was subjected to as the cars make their way around. And I think he's just taking his time on the way back to the pits, isn't he, Maximilian Buch? That's the first time he's taken the checkered flag this season. Here's a look at it again. So Freins had done well. It all came from the hairpin. Buch went a little defensive into the hairpin. Then Freins gets the drive out of this corner. The next hill, the next turn is a downhill left-hander. Look at that, around the outside. A bit of contact there. I think there's the tiniest of touches. And Freins just couldn't get it stopped quite in time. Fantastic, clean racing. I don't think either driver will have any issue with what went on there. It was absolutely superb stuff. There you can see Laurens Vanthor going in to have a chat to Robin Freins, who did all he picked up a puncture. He's picked up a puncture on that final lap then. So that's the left front. So yeah, there must have been, a puncture picked up from that contact. And they're having a chat, but the race winner is there in the pit lane now. Out of the car climbs Maximilian Buch, winner of the qualifying race. And Abril congratulates him. You scared me is the line to Maxi Buch there. So a first qualifying race win of the season for Max Buch and Vincent Abril. There you can see Winkelhock and Mer Melnoff, third place. Really good performance from them. But now let's hear from our race winners. They are both down there in the garage with John Watson.
Well, I'm just with Maximilian Buch. Robin Freins has come along to say, well done. But tell me, Maximilian, that was tight up into turn 9. The lead of the race that you'd basically been controlling looked like it was about to all go in one corner.
Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough race. Robin was all over me in my stint, all over my back. He was faster, but for sure in the last lap, it shouldn't be so easy to overtake me, especially if it's for the lead and for a good base for tomorrow. So I'm quite happy that I made it.
Now, you were a bit hard on him into turn 1 just after you started your stint. Do you think he sort of was trying to pay that back?
Was it hard?
Was it ever?
I mean, I didn't touch him all. I mean, I went to the inside and I had to break down the car a lot because of track limits. Like everyone needs to respect track limits. And I went to the inside but didn't touch him.
I'll talk to you about it later. Vincent, congratulations. But also, you got involved in controversy in turn 1 with Christopher Mies. He went the long way around of you, got the lead, then he had to drive through penalty.
Yeah, as he should, because I didn't know where he was really, because I saw him coming back and he carried a lot more speed, of course, going outside the track. So from then I just kept calm. I knew he was getting a drive through. So the first stint was good for us, and we managed to pull a little bit of a gap. And then Maxi did a fantastic race, and the last lap was tough to watch, but really nice move.
Well done, both of you. Congratulations.
So great to hear from our race winners. I think John's being a little harsh on Maxi Buch there, isn't he? He's looked all right to me down into turn 1. But Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor, let's hear from them.
Laurens and Robin, I'll start with you, Robin. I mean, last lap you made a great effort to try and find a way to take victory.
Yeah, it's been a long race for me. I was struggling to overtake Buch, but couldn't find a way. And then the last lap, he started defending and found a way around the outside in 9. But then it was just enough room for an Audi car. I don't think for a Bentley car though, but it was just enough room for me. And we touched just before the braking and blew my tire away. So it's bad luck, but it's racing and I enjoyed it.
Well, a great effort. Laurens, you started the race, but we didn't quite see the normal Laurens van Thor performance. Why?
I don't know. No idea. No, I was not as performer as I want to be. I was struggling a bit with the feeling on the balance of the car. So yeah, I need to work a bit as well.
No, there's not you. Obviously, there's something wrong with the car. And in fact, Marcus Winkelhock, your Phoenix partner, was pushing you all the way. I mean, do you feel that if you had let him take your position, he could have pulled away?
I just asked him. He said probably not. He said we were pretty similar. Maybe he was like half 10 quicker or something. I was trying my best, but I was struggling a bit. So I need to improve a bit the car or my driving. Let's see. But in the end, we knew here it's a very strong track for the Bentley. We're very close to them. We're almost in the same ballpark. So I think that's very positive, and there will be other tracks where we will be stronger as them that we know. So we're looking at the championship picture. So.
Well done, guys. Great effort, Robert. Well done.
So there is Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Mermelnoff. Mermelnoff had good pace towards the end. Let's hear from them.
Marcus, Nicky, third place. I asked Laurens van Thor the same question I'm going to ask you. We thought that you had more pace than the number 1 Audi today. If you'd been ahead, could you have caught down the Bentley?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I think I was maybe just slightly faster than Laurens. He was pushing like hell, I was pushing. But when I was behind him in the slipstream, I got some mid-corner understeer, which was a bit annoying, but I was not for sure not much faster, but maybe could have been a little bit more, a bit faster.
So your teammate, Nicky, gave your car in third position.
What happened in the pit stop? Looked a bit slow.
Yeah, it's a slight problem. I think with the starter, the cranking of the engine didn't work as we wished for. But you just press the button and wish that the car is getting moving. So a little bit of a moment there. But from then on, I could push, and I was only looking forward. And maximum attack tried to get close to the fighting too. But then they were slightly pushing away, pulling away. But I'm so happy. The team worked great, and for such a long time now, all season and last season, we've really worked hard to get on the podium here. And I think from pace-wise, we deserved it a long time ago. So I'm really happy to be back on the podium.
Well, you're always smiling. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A very happy Niki Meermanhoff, as you would expect. Here's a look at the results after 34 laps of racing around the Algarve, and it is victory in the end for the Bentley Continental GT3 for HTP. Max Buch and Vincent Abril holding on. Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor finishing second, and in fact Freins doing a good job to finish second after he blew the tyre on that final lap. Meermanhoff and Marcus Winkelhock finishing in third. Siegfried and Siedler in fourth. Von Turn and Taxis and Katzberg fifth after starting from the pit lane, which was a very good effort from the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini team. Then the next to the WRT Audis, Nash and Stippler, Cacabueno and Sergio Jimenez. Very close behind them. Van Splunter and Simkoviak win their Silver Cup class. Salaquadra and Bononomi 9th. Ede Meese 10th. Vasiliev and Asma 11th. And 12th place in the end for Alexei Karachev and Christoph Bouchou. And then we have 13th place for the 77 car of Attila Prue and Valdeno Brito, who were handing a time penalty for track limits at the end. Sean Walkinshaw and Craig Dolby finishing 14th and a lap down after a gearbox problem. Riquelme and Ortelli having to retire. So that means then, as far as the Blancpain Sprint Series points are concerned, it's 13 points between Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor at the top, to Vincent Abril and Max Buch in second. Abreu and Brito, without scoring, have dropped back a little bit now, really, from those two in front, so they're going to have their work cut out if they want to take the title. Further down, you can see Winkelhock and Meermanhoff moving up to 9th position after their first podium of the season so far. And Craig Dolby and Sean Walkinshaw picking up some points as well. 15 points for them. Bononomi and Salaquadra, a race to forget for them after Marco Bononomi spun it into the gravel trap when he was under pressure. So there you can see the drivers gathering behind the podium. And they will be going out onto the podium in a couple of moments. You were a bit harsh on Maxi Buch, weren't you, John?
Well, I took his breath away. In fairness, I mean, he made the manoeuvre, didn't get the car slowed down, forced the Audi out off the track. I was just asking him the question, you know, that's my job. His job is to do what he did. But he didn't like being asked the tough question. So sometimes it's not always, you know, sweetness and light.
No, exactly. But there are our race winners. Vincent Abril and Maximilian Buch. For the second time in a row, they are on the top step of the podium. It's only the qualifying race, but they take 8 points. And the top step, and crucially, pole position for tomorrow. And that Bentley on pole position is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. I mean, the car's got the speed where it counts. I have to say, I mean, I didn't see the Robin Freins attempt to overtake and take the lead of the race. But certainly, I mean, he found a position, made the position, forced it, and did a great job. And I mean, I think everybody here appreciates the efforts he made to take the lead and take victory here today.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And there, on the third step of the podium, are the old guys, I suppose, looking at this podium. It's Niki Meermanhoff and Marcus Winkelhock in third spot. But on the top step, the HTP team. And there is Renaud Dufour, the man in charge of the HTP team, who goes and shakes hands with everyone. And in respect of them, it will be the German national anthem that we will hear on the podium. I think we've still got, yes, here come Jules Simkoviak and Max van Splunteren, the winners in the Silver Cup class. And then we've got the Pro-Am class winners as well to come. After a strong performance. Oh, and there's the Bentley crew getting the Mechanics Award as well for winning the Silver Cup. And I think we have still got our Pro-Am winners. Yes, here we go then. So it's Alexei Karachev there on the right-hand side. it's Marco Asma and Alexei Vasiliev who won the Pro-Am Cup. And now and then you've got the Pro-Am Cup team representative. Quite a busy podium, that one. And soon we will have the German national anthem for the HTP squad.
They obviously haven't thought about the prize for the winning commentary team.
No, exactly. I think we're in a class of our own with that one, quite literally. So, a fantastic performance from Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. They take victory here in the Algarve. It's Germany on the top step, Germany on the third step, Belgium on the second step. But a superb performance from Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. They had some real pressure behind from Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor, but they managed to take victory and get pole position for the main race coming up tomorrow. So make sure you join us tomorrow for the main championship race in round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series. We'll see you then. And for those of you who are still with us on the internet, thank you very much for sticking with us, and couldn't really hear the German national anthem through all that because they've got practice underway. I think it's qualifying actually for the GT Sports Club. But Paolo Pinheiro hands out the trophies to Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril on the top step. And second place for Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins. And Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Marcus Winkelhock on the third step of the podium. Their first podium, as I've said a couple of times now, since Azerbaijan last year. And fantastic performance from them. And they're very happy with that. But do we think the Audi or the Bentley is quickest here in Portimao?
Well, I think in lap time there's probably nip and tuck between the two of them. It's really more which part of the racetrack the Bentley has the advantage, and it's got the advantage probably in the most critical part of the circuit, which is the exit of turn 15, which is a quick downhill double apex right-hand corner all the way along pit straight up to about 270 kilometers per hour. And it's the way the Audi is set up. They could probably make it as quick in a straight line as the Bentley by taking a little bit of aero out of the rear wing. But then they would lose some of the other advantages around the circuit. And they may well look and say, well, let's go that way with one of our cars. If you can live with the drivers with a little bit of maybe lack of rear grip, but give you top speed, which give you a really clean opportunity to get into contention for a lead in a straight line, let's think about it. That would be part of what I would do if I was part of the Audi family, thinking about tomorrow.
So there are our winners on the top step of the podium. Trophies aloft for Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. Now the champagne is being brought out, and it's going to be quite a lot sprayed, I think, because we've got quite a busy podium. As Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril are the victors. Jules Simkowiak and Max van Splunteren there on the left-hand side, getting stuck in straight away. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff over the moon to spray the champagne. I think he and Winkelhock could have been on the podium in last time out in Moscow, were it not for Meyer-Melnoff having to go. Here's a look at the highlights of the qualifying race then. At the start, it was a superb getaway from Vincent Abril, forcing the issue and taking the lead of the race away from Christopher Mies. Christopher Mies, though, in the Audi went all the way around the outside at turn 1 and retook the lead of the race illegally. So later on, there you can see Mies in the lead. He took it illegally around the outside of turn 1, and he would later be given a drive-through penalty, which would demote him well down the order. There he went, and an unhappy Enzo E. Marco Bononomi spun off the track whilst under pressure from Nicky Katzberg, who had to start from the pit lane. Then in came the 84 HTP Bentley. The drivers swapping over. Out gets Abril, in gets Maximilian Buch. Their pit stop, though, a little slower than the WRT Audi team. So away went the Bentley. They came in a lap before this pairing of Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor. And then this is how close it was for the lead. The 84 Bentley of Max Buch almost getting up the inside there, going into 2. So close. A little bit of a slow start here from Nicky Meyer-Melnoff in the number 6 Phoenix Audi, but they still managed to end the race in 3rd position. There was the dive up the inside from Maximilian Buch forcing his way past and back into the lead of the race. It was then up to Robin Freins to try and close in, managed to go all the way around the outside at 9. They went side by side up into turn 10, but that was where the puncture happened. As a result, Robin Freins couldn't get it stopped in time, and Maximilian Buch held on to take victory in the qualifying race here in Algarve. Join us tomorrow for the main race, where the championship points will be up for grabs.